all Borg.
The Vulcan science director has determined that time travel is impossible.
What if we told you that the Star Trek you've been watching isn't the Star Trek you think it is? Would you be surprised if we told you that quite some time ago, Star Trek was very quickly and quietly rebooted, and all of the shows you are watching today aren't remotely connected to TOS, TNG, Voyager, or Deep Space Nine? No, not Kurtzman Trek or the Kelvin timeline either. It's something most people never noticed, but perhaps quite a few people felt. Yes, we believe Star Trek was quietly rebooted right beneath our noses. And if the fact that the franchise may have been reset without anyone noticing isn't startling enough, then the captain in charge at the time and the producer responsible may shock you right to the core. Captain Picard and Rick Berman, you got some splaining to do. So you don't want to miss this episode. And if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please do so now, and give us a thumbs up if you want more inside knowledge about your favorite shows. And make sure you stay tuned to the end to see how to get this awesome Star Trek Zefram Cochrane graphic design from the amazing artists at Mixtease.com. So you're probably wondering, how the heck did Jean-Luc Picard reset Star Trek? And Rick Berman? When was the last time that guy did Star Trek? Of course, Rick Berman is a Star Trek legend. Not only was he the executive producer of The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, as well as 4 Star Trek movies, but he was the man who was leading the franchise when Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry died. So from 1987 to 2005, Berman served the Star Trek universe and helped make all of the shows most fans hold dear. If Roddenberry drew the plans and laid the foundation for Star Trek, Berman is the contractor that built the house it stands on. And whether this contractor fully realizes it or not, under his watch, the Star Trek team started building a new house on the lot next door.
I wasn't leaving.
And perhaps no one would have noticed it if it hadn't been for a Romulan bird of prey and that elusive cloaking technology. You have to go all the way back to the TOS episode Balance of Terror. This is the first time the Federation comes face to face with a cloaked Romulan bird of prey, with Captain Kirk at the helm of the Enterprise in 2266. It's obvious this is the first time the Federation has even come in contact with this type of technology. Kirk manages to defeat the Romulans and divert war, and it would seem this defeat signals to the Romulan Star Empire that the Federation is still too powerful to attack. And apparently, the Klingons were also worried about their enemy, the Federation, because they started wheeling and dealing with the Romulans. 2 years later, during the TOS episode The Enterprise Incident, we learned that Romulans are now using Klingon ship designs. It makes sense that Klingons would share their ship design with the Romulans, as they could maneuver as well as the Federation during that time, and the Romulans could then share their ships as well. And 17 years later, in 2285, during the events of Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, we would learn that the Klingons are now using modified birds of prey, and they also have the Romulan cloaking technology. So what's the problem? Everything seems to make sense, right? No canonical problems, and the fans are happy. But then came Enterprise, the show about Captain Archer and the crew of the NX-01, the first human ship capable of Warp 5, which takes place more than 100 years before Captain Kirk and the Federation learn cloaking technology has been discovered. So why is it that Romulan warbirds have cloaking technology during Enterprise? Well, at least the Klingons don't have cloaking technology, right? And to make matters worse, the Romulan ship greatly outclasses the Enterprise and appears to be the most powerful ship we've ever seen in Star Trek. I mean, why didn't the Romulans just conquer the Alpha Quadrant then? Who would have stopped them?
From what I've heard about these Romulans, they mean business. We have to find some way to stop them, or next time, they might come back with 1,000 of those ships.
None of this makes sense. If you go back to Balance of Terror, Spock explains that a Romulan war with the Federation occurred more than 100 years before and took place in primitive space vehicles.
Earth believes the Romulans to be warlike, cruel, treacherous.
This war would have been right about the time of the events of Enterprise. Perhaps Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock were clueless about history. Maybe Spock dreamed the Romulan War. Perhaps Kirk didn't know the Federation was almost completely wiped out by a fleet of cloaked Klingon ships nearly 10 years earlier. Perhaps Spock forgot that he was serving in Starfleet during the Klingon War, and he must have also forgot his sister basically started it. Or perhaps the reason none of this makes sense is because everything that happened during Enterprise is a totally different timeline from everything we'd seen before. But how did that happen? Remember Rick Berman and Captain Picard? Yep, it's their fault. It's important to note that Berman received story credits on all 4 of the Star Trek movies he made up, and that includes First Contact. When things get screwed up, the Borg are always involved, aren't they? It would be just like those pesky Borg to lead Jean-Luc back in time to 2063, just in time to save history from assimilation, help Zefram Cochrane make First Contact happen with the Vulcans, and, oh yeah, reboot the franchise. While Captain Picard and the crew are successful stopping the Borg, Zefram Cochrane, the father of the warp engine, and his partner Lily learn about the Borg and exactly how dangerous they are now and in the future. After the events of First Contact, we learn that Cochrane gave a public speech about the existence of time-traveling cyborgs from the future that wanted to enslave all life. As we learn in the Enterprise episode Regeneration, no one would believe Cochrane, and he would recant his story a few years later.
He was giving a commencement address at Princeton. He mentioned a group of cybernetic creatures from the future who tried to stop his first warp flight. He said they were defeated by a group of humans who were also from the future.
Wait, no one believed Cochrane? One of the most important human beings in the history of Earth, and the predecessors to Starfleet wouldn't have listened to him? They wouldn't have questioned Lily, who received an inspiring speech from Jean-Luc Picard about the importance of what was about to happen. She didn't talk about what she saw. Based on the incredible differences we see in Enterprise, we believe they did. And it likely wasn't only Earth that took him seriously. With the Vulcans closely tied into Earth relations, it's likely they were aware of what Cochrane was saying as well. But since they don't believe in time travel during this era, they wouldn't have acted on it. But that doesn't mean Vulcans wouldn't have been talking about it. And who knows how many Romulan sympathizers and spies might also hear. If true, the Romulans would have thrown all of their energy into developing weapons, ships, and stealth technology, and perhaps managed to develop the cloaking device more than 100 years before they had in the original timeline. The Klingons would also likely learn what the Romulans were up to and double their technological efforts or trade to get the cloaking technology sometime after the events of Enterprise, but before Discovery. And remember that war that Spock was talking about between the Romulans and the Federation? Well, they must have been too busy building technology to worry about fighting with the Federation because there was no Romulan war imminent during Enterprise. And as a result of Cochrane's warning, the people in charge of what would become Starfleet would have also put more emphasis on research and development as well. Notice how much bigger and more advanced all of the ships of USS Discovery's timeline are. Even the Enterprise in Strange New Worlds is much bigger than the Enterprise in the original TOS timeline. Also, other things that connect are how similar the uniforms in Enterprise and Discovery are to each other. And what about Star Trek Picard? The events of Picard take place after the events of First Contact, which means Picard and his crew came back to a future that they had altered. Of all the advancements the Romulans make earlier in this new timeline, the biggest one would be its impact on the Federation, and we can see this very clearly in the first season of Picard. It seems as though rather than assimilating Romulans into Federation life, the Romulans have instead changed the Federation's way of thinking. In Picard, the Federation values secrecy and hierarchy. Gone is the positive, forward-thinking values of a Federation who embraces new life and new civilization. The peaceful utopia has been replaced with terrorist attacks that are covered up by high-ranking Starfleet officers. A head of Starfleet security who is part of the Romulan Zat Vash. Even 7 of 9 is different. Would the Starfleet we know not accept her because she was once a Borg? Synth and synth technology are outright banned, even when their technology can save organic lives. Is this the Federation of the original timeline?
Sheer hubris.
It sure doesn't seem so. And if we are being fair, the future that Discovery has gone to is even more bleak and less hopeful. Perhaps all because Rick Berman sent Jean-Luc Picard into the past to stop the Borg. It's always time travel that messes everything up, isn't it? So what do you think? Was Star Trek rebooted right under our noses? Do you think this theory explains the changes and inconsistencies going back to Enterprise, or are we just barking up the wrong tree? Let's talk about it in the comments below. We'd like to give a special thanks to Salty Trekker for allowing us to adapt this theory that he came up with. We think it was very clever and explains a lot. Also, check out this incredible USS Enterprise NX-01 inspired graphic design from the amazing artists at mixtees.com. Get 20% off your purchase by using coupon code THEPOPCAST. The link is in the description below.
I suspect our future is there waiting for us.